We're going to take a deeper look at the OpenAI Assistants version 2, which now accepts 10,000 files per assistant to create fully automated RAG systems. Assistants API is pretty much like an agent framework. You can actually define your agent, create file search with RAG. All of this done is automatically for you. All you have to do is just upload your files. It comes with code interpreter, which writes and runs code and create graphs for you. You can also include dozens of functions, and it will have agentic ability to choose and execute those functions for you. In my previous video of Assistants v2 API Explained, I focused more on the web UI. Now, this time, we are actually going to take a deep dive and build a nice system which allows you to talk to Assistants API version 2 with your Python code. Code files for this project will be available at my Patreon. The link will be in the description. So let's begin. When we run this script, it's going to ask us whether to enter an assistant's ID or to create a new one. Let's just leave this empty and create a new assistant. And it's also going to ask us for a thread ID. Threads are a list of messages which OpenAI manages for you automatically. So you don't have to actually apply programming logic to manage the message history yourself like you would do with the chat completions. Let's also create a new thread. I'm going to leave it empty. Enter the name of the assistant. Let's just say chatbot. By the way, before we continue, this assistant will automatically have file search and code interpreter turned on. We can also insert instructions for the assistant. Let's just say you're a funny and whimsical chatbot. Now it's asking us to upload some files if you want. These files are automatically detected from the files folder, so you can actually put anything in here and then upload it. We're going to skip this step, so we're not even going to upload any files. And now what we have is just a chatbot, really, with code interpreter. You can just talk to it. Let's see if it is really whimsical. Hello, how can I assist you today? Let's just say, you can't assist me. I am sad. Yeah, it's not being very funny, but nevertheless, we can also ask it to do some code interpreter stuff. Let's ask, can you please come up with 100 random numbers and plot it? Let's see what happens. Now, normally when this happens, it is using code interpreter, and we will actually, when this happens, if agent assistant decides to initiate code interpreter, it writes some code and sends it to code interpreter. With the script that I built, we actually extract that code and write it to code interpreter.py. So this is the file that code interpreter executed. Currently, the script is actually not handling the files that the code interpreter might return. I believe there's a way. And in any case, there was some issue. We can actually go to the web UI. And here, if we go to our threads in our platform.openai, we can actually find the thread. This is the thread we are on. And the run that we did with the code interpreter failed. This can happen from time to time, but we can still continue the conversation. Yeah, plus we have the code and we can actually execute this separately to see the plot ourselves. We can actually go ahead and split the terminal and enter into the proper directory and run this file, and this should display us the plot. Yeah, here it is. So this is nice, the fact that we can actually say we are saving the code interpreter's outputs, but let's continue with some file search stuff. If you're enjoying my content, you can visit my website, callhive.live, and check out all the 280 plus videos that I've created. I try to keep each one unique and interesting as I'm interested in learning more myself. And if you're a patron, you can actually download the code files for any one of these projects. Okay, let's break out of this and create a new assistant. Again, we're going to create a new assistant. We're going to create a new thread. I actually downloaded this teaching of history book from Wittenberg Books. It's about teaching of history. This book was written for teachers, history teachers who are teaching history. So we can say history assistant. So I'm going to say assistant for history teachers and instruction. Let's input the instructions as you provide insights based on the documents provided. So these will be the and all our files here have been presented to us. We can actually select multiple files, but I'm going to just select 6. It's actually creating the vector store. We can name it as history. I had done this before, so let's name it history_2, and it's uploading the files and creating everything for us. This should only take just a quick second, depending on your file size. As you can see, everything was done. We can actually go back to our storage. We see that teaching of history was uploaded, and vector store for history_2 was created. with the file teaching of history, and this is assigned to the assistant for history teachers. We can actually go to that assistant and right here from assistants, and we see that its instructions are set properly. File search is on. This is the document that has been provided to it. It references the vector store, so that's nice. You can adjust the temperature, so you can do a whole lot of things here. Also, you can chat with it in the playground, test it out. But we're going to do all of that here. We can ask. Let's ask what is the document about, and it is performing file search. And right after that, it should answer our question. It says this document is about teaching of history, which serves as a guide for high school history teachers. So that's nice, and it also provides us with references. So we can ask how should a teacher approach towards exams, and it's doing file search, and it's actually providing insights based on that. The approach towards exams should be thoughtful, and it actually is referencing to 4 chunks. I believe you can actually get the contents of these chunks as well, but it is performing vector search, and it's answering us as it should. If you're enjoying this project, consider becoming a patron. I have worked on over 280 projects in the last year and a half, and as a patron, you'll have access to download to any code files that you like for any project, and it's a real convenient. And I believe it can benefit you for if you're just getting into it, getting started with interesting projects, and also find the type of projects that might actually be useful to your own use case. As a patron, aside from having access to all the code for all the projects I work on, you will also have access to my courses. I'm currently working on a Streamlit course. You'll have access to my Fast API course and also everything GPT API course. I also have Patreon tiers for one-on-one meetings. If you'd like to talk with me, check those out as well. Thank you. Now, if you come here, I have actually created another. I can see you can see that I have a few agents. One of them is the analytic agent, whatever I named it like that, which I use analytical engine Wikipedia article. So we can actually actually that was the vector store, and here this test one agent is the one that was using that, and so we can actually copy the assistant's ID and come here and start a new session with our class, and actually we can retrieve that agent. There we go. And we can create a new thread. If we now retrieve the assistant, as you see, it didn't ask for the name of the assistant. Okay, do we want to upload new documents? We can at this time, but we're not going to. Skip it. Ah, sorry, my bad. I actually entered space twice and the message cannot be empty. We're going to skip it, and we're going to say what is the document about. It should explain that it's about the analytical engine, which Ada Lovelace, I believe, worked with, along with another guy. Proposed digital mechanical general purpose computer design by English mathematician, Charles Babbage. But I believe Ada Lovelace had a lot to do with it too. What year was it? Let's see if it knows. So this is really great. Document doesn't specify the year directly. Maybe perform another search for it. Let's see. Yeah, his work actually occurred during 1930s. Oh, here. So it did, when we asked what year was it, it said it didn't perform file search because it's file search currently, as we set it up, is a tool. You can choose to use it. But when it said document does not specify, I asked it to perform another search for it, and then later it said the design of analytical engine by Charles Babbage was first described in 1837, and here is the source. So yeah, this is very cool. It works well. Like I said, it allows you to retrieve or create assistants and threads and upload documents. I'll include these documents too. This is AMD, Apple, and NVIDIA's 10K reports, I believe for 2023, analytical engine, Wikipedia article, and teaching of history. You can really upload any type of document, whatever is allowed. They have a list of processable documents. So let's go ahead and talk about the code. But before we do that, we're gonna of course review the code, but with the file download at Patreon, I will include the delete assistants and vector stores. I did put some warning here. If you're new to assistants, I thought this was really convenient because if you're new to assistants, you're going to be creating a bunch of assistants, uploading a bunch of files, and maybe creating a bunch of vector stores. I just created a quick script. If you run it, we'll actually delete all of that for you, so you can start from scratch. So it's going to ask you, you're about to delete all your assistants, vector stores, and files. Let's say yes. And it's deleting all the assistants files. Don't do this if you have anything in the cloud, OpenAI cloud. but if you're just experimenting, you can keep things clean. Now, if I refresh, they should all be empty. So assistants, also, I have no assistants now because we just deleted it. I'm also including some file manager class. I also included some functions here too, like this is to upload a file, list files, delete all files, retrieve files, and retrieve file contents. We can actually use this as well if you want to. It's really available at Patreon. So this is about it. Okay, so let's review the code. We are importing OpenAI from OpenAI. We're also importing this assistant event handler from OpenAI. This is a class conveniently provided by OpenAI to help us deal with streaming responses. We're going to use colored from term color for some colorful printing, as you saw. And our class assistants unified. And this is a rudimentary class right now. I actually would like to work more on it and make it better. But it does pretty much most of the things that you might need. In the class initialization, we set the assistants, vector stores, and threads to none. We have a method called setAssistant, which takes in an assistant ID. It's by default none. And if an assistant ID is provided, we retrieve that assistant. Otherwise, we create it. This is where we ask the name and instructions for an assistant. And then and if we are not retrieving an assistant, we create it with the name instructions. And with tools, we can also have function calling, but I'll make a separate video on that. You can also directly upload files right here, but we're not doing that. We have set up vector store method, which is going to ask a name for it and then actually create one. And the cool thing about creating vector stores is that you can actually set it expires after parameter, and you can set the anchor to last activate day 7. If you create it like this, if you use this expires after, then if your vector store if you haven't used a vector store you've created for 7 days, it'll automatically be deleted. We have another method called upload files to vector store. Let me zoom in a little bit more. This is going to actually open this files folder list. I'm sorry, this is going to take a list of file paths and actually upload it with a batch using the file batches upload and pull. And it's going to print some status report. After that, we update the assistant using the assistants.update we say that file search vector store ID is going to be the vector store that we are going to use. And then we have a setup thread, which takes in a thread ID. If thread ID has been provided, we retrieve it. Otherwise, we create a new thread with empty messages. You can create threads with messages already in them. And then we have create message, which is going to create the usual familiar object with role and content. And then this message that I create is going to actually assign it to the thread, the messages data like this. And the chat loop within a while loop is going to take in a message and a create message, and it's going to create a run using the thread ID assistant. We are providing an instruction for each thread run. You can also take in user input for this if you want it. And we are using the event handler, which we'll talk about here in a moment. You can set max prompt tokens. Here I set it to 30,000. Don't set this to too low. I suppose if you're going to use file search, normally speaking, if you have large enough documents, each file search can be up to 16,000 tokens. OpenAI says that each file search can return 20 chunks of data. Each chunk is set to 800 tokens. Anyway, you can set max prompt, and you can also set a truncation strategy. You can specify the type as auto, as we have done. So we let OpenAI determine how the truncation of messages is going to be handled, I believe, based on max prompt tokens. But you can also set the truncation strategy to last messages. If you specify last messages, you also have to specify another last messages key with the amount of last messages. This will mean that you want to keep only the most recent and many messages here, in this case 10, but we were using auto. So this is going to stream until it's done. The event handler client is going to inherit from the assistant event handler, which we imported up here from OpenAI. And we are actually having an attribute for it so that we can write the code interpreter results to the stop.py file. So this override attribute, I'm not sure exactly what that is, but if text is created, if API returns this, then we're going to print assistant. So that means assistant is not responding. And on text delta, as you know, OpenAI streaming provides the text chunked values with delta. We're going to print the delta values here on the term. On tool call created, we're going to say assistant, and the type of tool can be in this implementation, file search or code interpreter. And on tool call created, if it's of type code interpreter, then we initialize the code interpreter to zero. Not zero, I mean empty string, because we want to append the results to this and eventually save it. And we print a tool call type, so we know what the assistant is doing. So if on tool call delta, right, if you're receiving, if we are whatever we're receiving, the delta chunks have a tool call, then we check delta type is code interpreter. Then if it is an input, the reason why this is input, because the code that is being returned by GPT is going to be input to code interpreter. Then we append it to code interpreter, eventually with the intention of saving it to file. And that's it. That's all we do here. But if the code interpreter has an output, then that means we're done. We write it to file, and then we write the output of the code interpreter, and then we print the logs. And on message done. So we're not doing this, if you notice, with file search, because we don't really see the input to file search. Maybe there's a way to do that as well. Maybe I'll explore that in another video. But we just want the results of the file search, right? When we get the message content annotations, and we append the citation. So all this is provided by OpenAI anyway, and pretty much at the end we print the citations, because the real answer from file search is going to be provided to us and printed using the on-text delta. As the file search is a tool, we don't get to see the input to it. I believe OpenAI actually creates multi-query search, does keyword search, semantic search, does all kinds of stuff in the background, and then finds the right chunks, puts it in the context, and then when the GPT is responding, regular response will be printed out. And if it's main, then so this is where we initialize our assistants unified class. We ask for an assistant ID. We can skip it, right? Thread ID. And then we call the setup assistant with the assistant ID, if any. Otherwise, we create a new one. And we get the files from the files folder. So if you have other files, you can just upload it here. Just put it in this folder, the files folder. And we're going to print it enumerated. And we ask for choices. You can select multiple files, right? And we have a list of file paths, and then we set up a vector store, upload and update assistant based on those. And then we set up a thread with a thread ID, whether user provides a thread or create a new one, and call the chat loop. That's it. So this is it really. I'm really liking the new Assistants API. Actually, it works really well, very smooth. Now that we have message management, the message length management or the memory management, it's really very promising. It's very easy. So if you want to explore your documents, I mean, I think this just might be the easiest way possible. So yeah, let me know what you think, and thank you for watching. And don't forget, the code files will be available for patrons to download at my Patreon. Link is in the description. Thank you. This was the end of our video, but I'd like to talk quickly about my OptiStreamer version 3 project. OptiStreamer version 3 is a PyQt-powered PyInstaller packaged Python project that I came up with. It uses your OpenAI API key to create course websites such as this one in real time. This is also deployed at Railway, and including with audio.
The elif clause. In Python,
so you have quite a lot of choices, such as 6 different voice choices and over 50 languages that you can choose from. You can choose light or dark theme. When you go here to generate courses, you just enter a course that you would like to generate. For example, we just did permaculture basics, and I can pick how many chapters I'd like to generate, and I'm just going to go ahead and generate it real quick. This shouldn't take too long. Our curriculum was created successfully. I can go into view course outline and search for that permaculture. And as I can see, ethics and principles, design methods and tools, and practical applications. I can then actually select this course outline and continue to generate the course, create it in light mode, and then the website will launch automatically and will be created for you in real time. And you can record it as I'm doing right now, or actually live stream it. It's really up to you. And once it begins, we'll be able to
Ethics of
pause or
care
stop
for the
streaming.
earth. Permaculture revolves around 3 core ethics, one of which is the care for the earth. This ethic
I'm going to go ahead and pause it. If I were to let this run, then this entire course will be generated live, and I can listen to it live. I'm going to go ahead and stop. And if I were to let this course be generated, then it'll be under my view and launch generated courses. For example, I just created a course called Financial Basics for. Let's go ahead and launch. It's like this. I can actually switch to light mode as well, I believe. I'm sorry, dark mode. And then I can revisit this course. Both I can zoom in both is in text and
The importance of emergency funds.
yeah, it has 3 chapters, which I can easily use. The benefit of this, and what you'll get out of it is that instead of chatting with in a disorganized manner, this allows you to create structured courses that you can run and listen to before you go to sleep, or just fill your time. When you have just 5 minutes or 10 minutes worth, you can visit these courses back whenever, anytime you like. So, AutoStreamer, you can download a free demo for from autostreamer.live. I'll put the link in the description. Mac version is coming soon. You can, if you click on the download free demo, it will take you to my Google Drive download. And these are the files you'll be downloading. AutoStreamerDemo.exe is the same thing as this, except with limited features. And if you wanted to download the full version, then click on this. Will take you to my Patreon shop, where it's currently only for $200 instead of $300. You can read all about it in the website. You do need an OpenAI API key for this to work. And sometimes this is a PyInstaller package, the PyQt Python application. So your McAfee or Malwarebytes may flag it as not good. But as a matter of fact, all you have to do is just make an exception for the program. And if you have any questions, feel free to join our Discord or ask me the question that you have in Discord. Well, thank you for watching, and do let me know what you think of this project. I was really proud of this one. And like I said, the code files will be available at Patreon. And I also have special tiers for one-on-one meetings with me, if that's something you're interested in. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.